A month ago, we were down probably 30 feet from maximum height. So with all the rain we had in the last month, the lake came up quite a bit. Usually, the lake will go up about a foot, 6 to 12 inches for every inch of rain that we get. And we're totally dependent on rain to fill the lake. I mentioned that this was drinking water, and indeed something like 70,000 people drink the water out of this lake. So if you live in Ojai, if you live in Miners Oaks, Oakview, Carpinteria, and parts of Ventura, then you drink the water out of this lake. Now, didn't mention it, but we quite often see deer on the lake, on the island. Occasionally we see them in the lake too, but especially this time of the morning, you'll see them grazing in the grassy patches up there. We usually see a couple on just about every trip. There are coyotes up there, yeah. And we'll see, I saw a great blue heron flying just as we left the dock. We're like, oh, there's a grebe that just came out of the water, just surfaced. You've been under there fishing. We normally see a lot of great blue heron, especially this time of year, because it's their nesting season. We'll talk more about them later when hopefully we see some. The great blue herons, they have an unusual hunting style. They stand very still and they wait for something to come along. Like they'll see a gopher hole and they know, oh, there's food there, and they'll wait. And when the gopher sticks his head up, they spear him and they have lunch. And they probably, they'll eat it, bring it back to the nest, and then regurgitate to feed the young. Largemouth bass are the biggest fish in the lake. They stock the lake with rainbow trout about every 3 or 4 weeks, and they're the favorite food of the largemouth bass. And the fishermen like them too. And then there are catfish, and there are sunfish or brim. The largemouth bass are the most sought after. The second to the world's record largemouth bass came out of this lake about 12, 15 years ago. 26 pounds. The world record, I believe, is 28. So some pretty big fish. And they're 12, 15, 18 pound bass. There's a fisherman now. Well, the quagga mussels really won't bother the fish. They're bad for the drinking water in the sense that it clogs up the pipes. That's why they're kind of bad. There's a pair of nesting red-tailed hawks in this little cove up here in one of the trees. I don't see them today, but chances are we'll see them during the cruise. I like to point them out because of all the birds in the bird kingdom, the red-tailed hawk has the best eyesight. The bird with the worst eyesight is the vulture, the turkey vulture. But even the turkey vulture can see 3 or 4 times better than we can. But the red-tailed hawk has the best eyesight, and not only does he see in daylight, but he sees in ultraviolet light. If a red-tailed hawk were sitting here on the boat and looking across the lake, he could easily see a mouse walking across the hillside. They can see a mouse from 1 to 2 miles away. And the fact that they can see in ultraviolet light helps them, because it turns out that where the red-tailed hawk has the best eyesight, mice have one of the worst eyesight of any animal. And in order to find their way home, what they do is they lay a urine trail. And so they smell their way back to their burrow because they've laid a urine trail, and it turns out the urine is ultraviolet reflective. So the hawk can look across the lake and see like a superhighway of mice, or urine trails, and he'll just look along the trail and he'll see the mouse and then go over there and get his lunch. The American coots out here in front of us, they kind of fly, or do their best to fly. They're a pretty heavy bird. So they can fly, they do fly, but they have a tough time with it.